Welcome to the Implementing Analytics webcast series. This on how to use analytics to talk through the sales forecast. This is brought to you by the JPK Group and Aurora Predictions. First, some introductions. JPK is best practice educational forums and discussions to help individuals and organizations conquer challenges with actionable and practical solutions, as well as to open up new professional opportunities. Aurora is like Excel, big data, and artificial intelligence all in one to enable the CFO to solve their number one anxiety, making their quarterly revenue target and knowing the levers to pull that can impact revenue growth. And now to our webcast. The goal of finance is to advance from the trusted scorekeeper to strategic partner. To do so requires analytics that provide insight to influence decision making. In this way, finance gets a seat at the table. Finance, sales, and revenue analytics. Finance can give analytic insights that can fill the revenue bucket. At the top of the bucket, analytic insights increase flow of sales into the bucket. At the bottom of the bucket, analytic insights can reduce flow of revenue from escaping the bucket. So today, we're going to look at how analytics can yield insights to sales forecasts and customer churn through multi-level forecasting methods, through deep dive predictive analytics, through using AI to identify areas of customer churn. Let's talk about insight from market and economic data. First, the sales team comes up with a forecast. It's bubbled up through the CRM system, and it comes out to be $100 million. Finance can then go through, and often does, several types of forecasting. One here is a statistical forecast, typically using exponential smoothing with some type of seasonality. In this case, the forecast comes out with $90 million. In another case, you can use market growth to look at your comparable competitors. In this case, 5% quarter-over-quarter growth would yield a forecast of $88 million on a prior quarter of $84 million. And finally, you can also use leading indicators, in this case using unemployment as a 3-month leading indicator. Here we assume that the unemployment growth, or in this case decline, went down 10%, and it's correlated with sales at a coefficient of correlation of 0.92. Using this with a statistical formula yields a forecast for the quarter of $91 million. So if we average all the methods, we come up with an average of $89 million versus the sales team's forecast of $100 million. So these alternative forecasts advise that the sales team forecast is at least questionably high. At this point, the dialogue turns by the sales team to finance and says, okay, if it's $89 million, then tell me, which deals am I not going to get? And here is usually where the discussion breaks down, because finance, working at a high level, usually cannot get deep down below this. So let's get into deep analytics on the sales forecast. Here, sales, as we said before, are bubbled up from the CRM, and the forecast comes in at about $100 million. Deep dive analytics allows us to take each sales prospect and put it through a series of gates. And these gates, if you will, are an analysis of the history of selling in our company. And the pattern is going through the positive trends produces a propensity of the sales to close within the quarter, and conversely, if they go through negative trends, then the propensity is they won't close in the quarter. So now we can take all the sales prospects for the quarter and put them through this series of gates, as we said, where we can determine the propensity of closing or not closing. So here we can see that, let's call them 10 prospects representing 12% of the total pipeline that have a very low propensity to close. 55% of the prospects in the pipeline show a very high propensity to close. 33% are somewhere in the middle. So now we have a way of talking with sales in detail about each of the prospects in the pipeline. And the closer that we're going to get to 88 million and even beyond is determined by this block right over here. So the sooner we can get our resources on it, and the right resources on it, and the sooner we can move away from trying to chase deals that have a low propensity to close, the better our sales forecast is going to be. So this advises that this deep analytics, that we have a good potential outcome of $88 million if all these deals can close over here. So we've seen how systematic intelligence can improve sales closing prospects at the top of the bucket. Now we're going to turn our attention to use systematic intelligence to the bottom of the bucket to mitigate customer churn and revenue leakage. Now let's do systematic intelligence on the same technology company that we did our sales analysis on, but this time we're going to look at revenue. And in particular, we want to follow a pattern or find the pattern like we found before. Again, we asked the system in systematic intelligence, in this case, find us existing customers. And what we're interested are in the top customers as determined by KPI, in this case, greater than $250,000 per month, that have, and again, going through that path, that have declining revenue growth year over year and have forward indicators or predictive indicators that show they're likely to churn. So as we go down this decision tree as we did before, we will find and segment those customers that fit into this category that are likely to churn, especially when we see, like in this case, revenue has fallen by 29% year over year, and it has a negative leading indicator. So think of this as the watermark on the beach when you go to the beach, and think of this as the tide. So where's the water and which direction is the tide going? The data finds, in the pattern of the data, that when these two things combine, these are the customers, the existing customers over here, that have a propensity to churn in the next 3 to 6 months. And that way we can now ask sales to turn their attention, as well as customer service, to turn their attention to find out what is happening in these accounts. Are we actively selling to these accounts so that we can preserve these customers, certainly large customers? Can we preserve these customers who have annual contracts and that have a propensity not to renew those contracts? Finally, we'd like to invite you to the Implementing Analytics Academy. It's a university style. It has lecture, it has workshops. It guides you through implementing an analytics culture for data-driven decisions by walking you through a detailed roadmap. You'll be able to learn from others, your peers. You'll be able to network, and you'll be able to build community that will extend well beyond the Academy. We hope to see you there. And for more information about the Implementing Analytics Academy and to register, you can go to jpkgroupsummits.com, and for more information about this presentation, contact me, Robert Zwirling, at aurorapredictions.com. Thank you for attending today.